Imagine yourself stuck in heavy traffic with honking cars all around. You glance at the clock, time is not on your side, and an important meeting awaits. The pressure builds. Your heart races, your muscles tense up. Every second feels like an eternity. You start to get irritated, perhaps even questioning why something as simple as getting to work can be so frustrating. Now pause for a moment. What if, despite all this chaos around you, you could remain in complete control? Imagine if these external factors, the cars, the noise, the ticking clock, had no power over how you feel. Picture calmness amidst the chaos. It might seem like an almost superhuman ability, but what if I told you that not only is it possible, but there's an ancient, tested, and proven method for achieving it? A method that ordinary people like you and me can apply in real life, turning situations like this from a nightmare into an opportunity to strengthen emotional mastery. This method is rooted in a practical philosophy developed centuries ago by people who faced challenges vastly different from ours but sought the same goal: serenity in the face of adversity. And that's exactly what we're going to discuss. But instead of a theoretical lecture, I want you to feel the impact of this method in your own daily life. Imagine that instead of reacting in the heat of the moment, you could observe everything with clarity. That when your boss criticizes you or someone makes a comment that would normally irritate you, you have the power to decide how to respond. That every criticism, every bit of pressure, and every small problem becomes just a detail, incapable of disturbing your balance. Modern life constantly puts us under pressure. Social media, deadlines, other people's judgments. It feels like we're always being tested, always on the verge of losing control. But what most people don't realize is that within us lies an immense capacity for choice. A capacity not only to decide what we think, but, most importantly, how we respond. Now, going back to the traffic scenario, instead of letting frustration take over, you take a deep breath, look around, and realize that the chaos doesn't need to affect your inner self. This is precisely what the Stoic method teaches: to not be swayed by what's outside, but to find your center amidst the uncontrollable. Today, you're going to discover the power of this practice, not as a distant theory, but as a practical skill you can begin to develop right now. We'll dive into a new way of seeing the world, where every challenge strengthens you, and every obstacle becomes an opportunity to exercise calmness. And who knows, by the end, you might even be grateful for every moment of tension, because you'll realize that the control is yours. It always has been, and it always will be. Think of a recent situation where you lost control. Maybe it was during a workplace argument or a conversation that took an unexpected turn. Now, ask yourself, what really caused your reaction? Was it what happened, or was it the expectation of how you thought it should have gone? Most of the time, we don't react to what is happening, but to what we think should be happening. And this idea, this gap between the real and the ideal, stems from a part of us that always wants to be right, that wants to keep everything under control. This part has a name: the ego. And the ego, more than any external factor, is the primary culprit behind our impulsive and uncontrolled reactions. The ego makes us believe that things should work according to our expectations. When they don't, we feel intense frustration. We imagine that if people were more understanding, if the boss were more polite, if traffic moved faster, everything will be perfect. The problem is that this idea of perfection is a creation of our ego, and the world rarely conforms to it. Let's try an exercise. Imagine you're in a meeting and someone criticizes your work. The immediate reaction might be to feel offended, perhaps even defensive. But this reaction doesn't arise solely because of what was said. It comes from the ego's deep-seated expectation that our work is flawless, or that others should always respect us. When this expectation is shattered, the ego feels threatened, and we react to protect this image of ourselves. Stoicism, however, proposes a different way of thinking. Instead of clinging to this image or these expectations, It invites us to look at reality more objectively. And this starts with a question: what is really happening? The person made a critique. That is a fact. But everything you interpret beyond that, the tone, the meaning, the intention, is a construction that comes from your ego. When we stop identifying with this construction, when we realize that the world won't always meet our expectations, we gain freedom. Freedom to choose a response instead of reacting impulsively. Freedom to see situations for what they are, not what the ego wants them to be. Imagine the impact of this. The next time something doesn't go your way, you have the chance to see it as an opportunity to practice detachment. And more than that, to grow. Every frustration, every little disappointment, is an opportunity to set the ego aside and remember that life rarely follows our script. The more we accept this, the less we are controlled by what happens outside us. So, are you ready for this new perspective? To start noticing that it's not others, nor the situations themselves, but your expectations that cause much of your reactions? This is the first step to freeing yourself from the control the ego tries to impose on you. Imagine yourself in a truly challenging situation. It could be a day when nothing seems to go right. Everything spirals out of control, one thing after another. Perhaps someone treats you poorly at work, or you receive news that disrupts all your plans. Suddenly, you feel the pressure mounting. Anxiety, stress, and anger seem to build up, and the urge to react impulsively grows. But now visualize a different response. Imagine that instead of being carried away by these feelings, you pause and observe for a moment. Instead of reacting, you choose how to respond. That is true control. And this ability to choose your response is the essence of the Stoic method. Unlike other approaches that aim to eliminate or suppress emotions, Stoicism teaches us something simple yet profound: to separate what is within our control from what is not. This distinction lies at the heart of the Stoic method. Think about it for a moment. How many times have you wasted energy trying to change something that, in reality, was beyond your control? The reaction of another person, boss's decision, the outcome of an interview, even the weather, all of these things are truly out of our hands. So, what is within our control? Our response, our choices, and how we decide to deal with what happens to us. Let's revisit the visualization. Picture yourself in a conflict with someone who disagrees with you or treats you disrespectfully. The natural impulse is to react, to defend yourself, or to retaliate. But in that moment, you remember the Stoic method. You pause and ask yourself, is this situation under my control? The answer is clear. You cannot control what the other person says or thinks, but you can control how it affects you. As you realize this, a sense of lightness washes over you, and the pressure begins to fade. The Stoic method teaches us that most human suffering comes from trying to control the uncontrollable. When we fight against what is beyond our reach, we inevitably become frustrated. But when we focus our energy on what we can truly control, we find peace and clarity. Here's a practical example. Imagine you're in an important meeting and present your ideas with conviction. After finishing, someone offers harsh criticism, perhaps even unfairly. If you cling to the desire to be understood and accepted by everyone, this criticism will sting. But if you apply the Stoic method, you'll realize that the critique is out of your control. What is within your control is how you handle it. You can choose to listen, reflect, and maybe even learn something. Or you can simply let it go, understanding that others' opinions are theirs, not yours. This is where true freedom begins. When you understand that in any situation, you can choose your response, you discover that peace doesn't depend on others or circumstances. It depends solely on you. This is the power of the Stoic method, to teach that serenity comes from within, from mastering yourself, not from controlling what's outside. Now, think of a recent situation where you felt like you lost control. It could be something small, like a tough conversation, or something bigger, like an unexpected change in your plans. Recall the details. What was truly within your power in that situation? And what was entirely out of your control? By analyzing this, you'll start to see that much of the stress and anguish you felt came from trying to control what you couldn't. This Stoic practice of discernment, separating what is ours from what is not, is a daily exercise. It's not something achieved overnight, but over time, you'll start to notice its impact. Small annoyances, conflicts, and daily pressures become less intense. You gain more clarity and react less. Every tough situation becomes an opportunity to practice this internal control. Let's solidify this understanding. The next time you find yourself in a challenging situation, remember, there are two spheres at play. The first is what you don't control: circumstances, other people's actions, even the outcome of certain events. The second is what you do control: your thoughts, your responses, and the meaning you assign to each situation. Whenever you feel tempted to react, pause and ask yourself, is this within my control? You'll find that over time, this simple distinction starts to change everything. What once caused stress and anguish loses its intensity, and you feel stronger, calmer, and more in command of yourself. This is true control, not over what happens outside, but over how you choose to respond. Now that we understand what is and isn't within our control, let's explore some practical tools you can use to apply the Stoic method in your daily life. These techniques are simple but extremely powerful when practiced consistently. They help you cultivate inner control and conscious responses, even in the most challenging situations. 1. Mindful breathing. The first tool is mindful breathing. In moments of stress or pressure, the body reacts immediately. Your heart rate increases, your breathing becomes shallow, and your muscles tense up. These are clear signals that you're ready to react, often impulsively. Mindful breathing interrupts this cycle and helps you regain control. Imagine yourself in a difficult situation. Maybe someone is speaking to you aggressively, or something urgent isn't going as planned. You feel the tension building. But instead of letting it take over, you pause and breathe. Inhale deeply through your nose, count to 4, hold your breath for a few moments, and then exhale slowly. Repeat this cycle 3 or 4 times. By doing this, you signal to your body that you are safe and don't need to react impulsively. Mindful breathing isn't just a way to calm your body. It also gives you a moment to reflect. When you give yourself these few seconds to breathe, you create a small pause, and this pause can be enough to decide how you truly want to respond. This simple act of intentional breathing helps you avoid automatic reactions and respond in a way that aligns with your values and goals. So, the next time you feel like you're about to react, stop and breathe. Give yourself the time you need to reset your response. You'll notice that many situations that seem uncontrollable can be softened by this small moment of awareness. 2. Thought restructuring. The second tool is thought restructuring. Often, our emotional reaction isn't caused by the event itself, but by the interpretation we give it. In other words, it's what we think about what happened that really triggers the reaction. Imagine, for example, that someone makes a negative comment about you in public. Your initial reaction might be to defend yourself, snap back, or feel hurt. But instead of reacting, ask yourself, what exactly am I thinking about this situation? You might realize that you're thinking the other person doesn't respect you or is trying to harm your image. These thoughts generate feelings of anger or sadness. Stoicism teaches us to challenge these automatic thoughts. One effective technique is to question the accuracy of the thought. Ask yourself, am I certain this is true? Or, are there other ways to interpret this situation? Often, a simple change in perspective can completely transform how we feel. Instead of seeing the comment as a personal attack, You might choose to view it as an opportunity to reflect on your actions or even realize that the issue lies with the other person, not you. Another aspect of thought restructuring is reminding yourself of your values. Before reacting, ask yourself, is this reaction aligned with the person I want to be? This practice helps keep your responses in line with your principles rather than being driven by fleeting emotions. 3. Perspective exercise. The third tool is the perspective exercise, which involves observing the situation from an external and neutral viewpoint, as if you were a spectator. When we're in the middle of a problem, it often feels much bigger than it actually is. Our emotions intensify, and we lose clarity. By adopting an external perspective, you create emotional distance, making it easier to see the situation objectively. Let's visualize this. Imagine you're dealing with a situation where something didn't go as planned, you missed an opportunity, or someone let you down. Now imagine you're watching the situation from the outside, as if it were a movie and you were just an observer. Look at yourself with compassion, acknowledge the emotions you're experiencing, but realize that they don't define who you are. This exercise is highly effective because it reduces the power of intense emotions. When you position yourself as an observer, you can see that, no matter how overwhelming the situation feels, it's just a fleeting moment in your life, and you have the power to decide how to handle it. Another way to practice the perspective exercise is to think about how you'll view this situation a month, a year, or even 5 years from now. Ask yourself, will this situation matter that much in the future? A temporal perspective also helps reduce the significance of issues that seem overwhelming in the heat of the moment. These 3 tools, mindful breathing, thought restructuring, and a perspective exercise, are powerful practices Stoicism offers to transform the way you handle challenges. They may seem simple, but they're deeply effective when applied consistently. Imagine how your life would change if, in every difficult situation, instead of reacting, you applied these techniques. Over time, you'll notice your ability to control your reactions improving, and the situations that once seemed stressful will begin to affect you less. Not because the world around you has changed, but because you've learned to respond differently. The true Stoic transformation happens when you view every obstacle as an opportunity to practice these tools. Instead of seeing the situation as something to fear or avoid, you see it as a chance to grow. Every time you use these techniques, you strengthen your inner control, developing a skill that only grows with practice. These tools are an invitation to become the author of your own story, rather than merely reacting to the events life throws at you. After all, true Stoic power lies not in controlling what happens outside, but in mastering what happens within. For the Stoic method to truly make a difference in your life, it's essential to practice it daily. The tools you've learned are effective, but like any skill, they require consistent training to become second nature. With that in mind, here are some simple exercises you can incorporate into your routine. They don't take much time, but over time, they can profoundly impact how you react to the world. 1. Reaction journal. The first exercise is the reaction journal. At the end of each day, take a few minutes to reflect on situations where you reacted emotionally. Ask yourself, what did I learn about my reactions today? How could I have responded better? Writing down these answers can help you identify patterns in your reactions and track how they're evolving over time. This journal doesn't need to be elaborate. A simple note about what happened and how you felt will suffice. The goal is to create a space for self-awareness, where you can revisit your responses and observe your progress. Over time, this exercise will also help you become more conscious of the situations that trigger your emotions, allowing you to prepare better to face them calmly. 2. Daily review with emotional focus. The second exercise is a daily review focused on emotional learning. Before bed, reflect on your day as a whole. Ask yourself, what were the most challenging moments of my day? How did I react? What could I have done differently? This brief moment of reflection reinforces your learning and allows you to visualize how you'd like to respond in future situations. This exercise is valuable because it offers a constant opportunity for adjustment. By recognizing what could have been handled differently, you prepare yourself to respond more consciously the next time. Additionally, the daily review helps put into practice one of the fundamental principles of Stoicism: learning from experience and moving forward without dwelling on past mistakes. 3. Visualization of the ideal response. A third powerful exercise is the visualization of the ideal response. At the start of your day, take a few minutes to imagine challenging situations you might face. Visualize, for example, an encounter with a difficult person, an unexpected problem at work, or even the stress of a busy routine. Now, picture yourself responding to these challenges with calm and control. By imagining these scenarios and your ideal response, you're training your mind to handle real situations more balancedly. This practice, known as mental rehearsal, prepares you to better navigate challenges before they occur. When done regularly, you'll find that when tense moments arise, your mind is already conditioned to respond in a calmer way. These 3 exercises, the reaction journal, the daily review, and the visualization of the ideal response, are simple yet profound ways to incorporate Stoicism into your daily life. They require only a few minutes, but over time, they can transform how you navigate the world. Daily practice keeps Stoicism alive and functional, turning it into a practical tool for facing modern life's challenges. The secret lies in consistency. Each day, as you reflect on your reactions and prepare for challenges, you become more aware and less prone to impulsive reactions. These small steps build up, creating deep and lasting changes in your emotional state. So tonight, when reflecting on your day, ask yourself, what did I learn about my reactions? How could I have responded better? And tomorrow, as you start your day, visualize the serenity you want to bring to each situation. Over time, this inner control will not only become a practice, but an essential part of who you are. Today, you've taken a powerful step toward gaining control over your reactions and finding serenity in any situation. Stoicism isn't just a philosophy. It's a practice that can transform your life, bringing balance, clarity, and inner strength to face any challenge. And this is just the introduction. If you truly want to incorporate these concepts into your daily life, stay tuned to the channel. Subscribe, like this video, and activate notifications to receive more practical and transformative content like this. If you want to dive even deeper, check out the ebook Modern Stoicism in Practice, a step-by-step guide offering simple yet powerful exercises to apply Stoicism consistently, helping you live a more balanced and controlled life. The link is in the comments. To take this transformation further, I suggest you watch the complimentary video, 10 Stoic Habits that will transform your day forever. In this video, you'll find valuable tips to help consolidate this new way of living with habits that bring immediate benefits and lasting changes. If you're ready to transform your life and live each day with more serenity and purpose, join us and embark on this journey of self-discovery and emotional mastery.